Just put it out there. Just let it.
Oh, what a save! Let's try! Let's try! We just need to call this game of the year. Game of the year, I'm calling it. What's up, play, Axel? Oh, this is exciting.
Dude, they have 10 seconds.
10 seconds. Highest jump. Oh, oh, oh.
Oh my God.
Normally what it goes if they have the Wi-Fi or the iPad, this will go into an adapter that plugs right into the iPad. Or, you know, if we use the smaller, this is, it's 1/4 inch here, but RCA, and I have RCA 1/4 inch adapters. Simple, small setup for the second bag, you know.
Just something to get them up and going.
Yeah.
Dude, one time when I was
So, and that mixer was only like $80.
We played a game that was
durable.
That, yeah.
And we made it to like 10 innings.
The Mackie analog boards last year.
What's that?
It was a doubleheader too. It was game 2 of a doubleheader.
They were just throwing like
Probably. I think we ended up losing.
And then if we were to do a crowd mic, at least I have a 1/4 inch.
Both teams had like a no-hitter going into the 9th. And we just gave up an absolute dismissal to right field over our right fielder. And we were just like, you know what, they earned that.
Was it home run?
Oh, it was a double. It was a double.
Was this?
This was like 16. It was like 13. So my birthday year, so I went from 13 straight to 16U. So this is like
actually
2 or 3 years ago.
So we have to work on building some bridges.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great hockey.
Where they understand that can't speak our accent.
So,
Do you have rosters?
They can't speak our accent.
Here's your folder back.
All out of the same chapel.
so the camera that we used last night, that was purchased for us. This I've been using for a few years. This is what I bought a few years ago. Just,
Yeah, I have the rust.
No, I just want
this camera's at least
roster.
6 years old.
We have some disconnect of which people seem to be wanting to start floating in there. That can't be its own island. It has to be Purdue. Jason's starting to understand that. He knows I'm curious about it. He's irritated now because there's lots of back and artistic. Like, whoa, we're gonna do art, we gotta make money.
That sucks.
I mean, a football team does their camera stuff with one of these.
If baseball ended in a tie, I would not play.
Man, we got the drone. We got a bunch of stuff. We're not sure how to use it. Alright, but it's really cool. We got the new tower camera. We got the drone.
The tower camera is nice.
It's been a lot of money.
And
I like it when the other teams use it because if I don't get their starters, that's how I determine their starters.
Chris, if you want their lineup, their coach will have a lineup card you can take a picture of.
Oh yeah, Cody for Ed's.
For Ignatius, we'll let you. Their SID said that
Okay.
they were expecting us to tap them.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, what's going on, man?
Then today, so after this,
Thank you.
baseball practice.
He played with 2 broken feet in a cast against Glenville high school playoff game in 2000.
Really?
Foot was broken, put it in shoes and all the other was in a cast. And his hand was in a cast too. Ever since I played, it's a cast. And he played on the nose. He played in Akron. He played a little bit in the World League. The bad man. Mark Connell.
So,
Cast.
huh? 2 casts.
One on his hand, one on his foot. The other foot was broken. He just got the shoe on. They played nose.
I'd be like, just give me the biggest pain
Well.
pill medicines you got.
In this day and age, people start running ice up through it.
Yeah.
It was against Glenville, so they didn't quite pick up.
That's why they didn't win anything. Don't get me wrong, it's great that Glenville won a state title. But when they had horses, and they had horses in the middle twos, like, was it 6 through, or 4 through 9, 4 through 10?
Even that team in 2000, Ginn was a sophomore. Peter Woods played in a couple 10 years.
Right.
Witten was on the team. Like, there's 5 NFL guys on that team. 5 NFL guys in the high school team.
Problem was coaching. And I knew the offensive coordinator. I worked with him.
Probably a nice coach.
Very nice person, but the biggest thing those teams weren't disciplined back then. And now, yeah, you're playing in D4 with D2, D1 talent. You should win a state title. Now, where do you live?
157 on the west side, so I'm like
Oh,
5 minutes
man,
away.
you're...
I'm right over the bridge. Where are you at?
North Royalton.
Okay.
Okay. Lead the way.
Hello and welcome in live here from Serpentine Winterhurst Arena here in Lakewood, Ohio. I'm here alongside Chris Mendoza to bring you this high school hockey action between your Eagles of St. Edward and the Wildcats of St. Ignatius. This St. Ed's green team today comes into this one taking on the Wildcats of St. Ignatius, their blue team. So the second level teams for both squads, but this will be a very interesting matchup. And Chris, you think back to that varsity matchup between these two teams. Is there anything you think the Eagles are going to have to do to try to not repeat that 4-1 loss that they took right before the new year?
I think for them, they just need to, if they get momentum early, just keep that momentum going. You don't want to let up. You don't want to take your foot off the gas, and you just want to make sure you don't give up those second and third period goals, because I feel like that's what really killed us in that varsity game.
And you mentioned those late game struggles, which it's been a lot of this year for the Eagles. In that Gilmore game to begin the season, that varsity game, they allowed 2 goals in that third period. You want to see sustained success throughout this game today for the Eagles, and we'll see if they're able to get it done here from Serpentine Winterhurst Arena in Lakewood, Ohio. Very excited to bring you this action on a Sunday morning. And before this one, we got the opportunity to watch some youth hockey. It was very fun to watch.
Very fun.
And now we get an opportunity to watch some high-level high school hockey. And we'll see if your Eagles of St. Edward are able to come out on top in this all-telling St. Ignatius match.
Yeah, and St. Ed's, they're going to be taking on a pretty talented St. Edward's going to be taking on a very talented St. Ignatius blue team. So I'm expecting a pretty good matchup between these two squads.
And we are just about ready to get underway. The teams will meet at the net for one final time before we get ready to begin today's action. And for this Eagle squad, you talk about the depth of this program. It has to go mentioned that the Eagles this year have added a 4th team now to the program with the addition of the white team this year. And I really think that this is great. Head coach Tim Sullivan has spoken a lot about this, that this addition of this 4th team is really helpful to this program because it just helps build stronger and stronger each year. You have guys that are playing varsity now, like Ryan Schmidt, who was a longtime player on this green team, then the last couple years has been getting it done for that varsity gold team. And I'm sure you're seeing kids skate out here today that will eventually make their way to that varsity gold team.
Yeah, and it even shows just the growth of the program. When you have to add a new team, that just really shows how much your program has grown, and that's such a good sign for any high school program, no matter what sport it is.
And so the Eagles will get one last opportunity to talk it over with the coaches before we have the opening puck drop here from Lakewood, Ohio. As now the Eagles break and they'll head out to center ice. Here it'll be Max Victor alongside Jacob Weiss and number 51 for the Eagles. And the Wildcats will try to come away with this puck here, now in their offensive zone. Wildcats dump it back behind the net. Eagles now will try to win the puck near side. They have it working near side, but that's taken away. Battle for the puck along the near side boards. And 2 players go down here as the Eagles now will try to clear the defensive zone here early.
Yeah, the Ignatius Wildcats with really good hard checks into the boards, so this game's going to be very physical.
Physical game already through 30 seconds. Eagles trying to win the puck back behind the net. They're able to do so. as Max Victor tried to clear the zone, but he was unable to get it out of there for the Eagles. And now the Eagles trying to move through the neutral zone. Coach Humphreys looking for an offsides call, but none will come. And the Wildcats will be forced to retreat back into the defensive zone as they now work through neutral ice. Wildcats working back into their own defensive zone. They'll move it near side as they dump it into the zone. That was Charlie Maroon who dumped it into the zone for the Wildcats. Now Blake Cohn with the puck back behind the net for the Eagles. And now the Wildcats will dump it back behind the net once again. The Wildcats so far early have been looking to dump it into the zone, then chase it down back behind the net, looking for some offensive opportunities as they throw a shot in on net, goes way wide and high. But now they're right in front of the net, and they'll throw a shot in on net. Looking for the rebound was the Wildcats, but the Eagles able to keep it out. And now the Wildcats will be forced to retreat back into the neutral zone.
Yeah, very good shot on goal by the Wildcats. Just couldn't get it to go with all that traffic in front of the net.
And so far for the Eagles, just really unable to control the puck thus far, just bouncing off the stick of the Eagles. We'll see if they can do a better job of controlling this puck off these passes here from the Eagles, as they'll now get the icing call, and we'll have a face-off here in the Wildcats' offensive zone.
Yeah, the Eagle defense really standing strong. Their offense hasn't really been able to make much noise yet, but I think they're looking to make some noise in the later part of this period.
And so we will have defensive zone face-off here for the Eagles. Eagles able to win it. They'll try to work it from behind the net. Wildcats now will take possession. They'll have it along the far side boards. Wildcats now trying to work it back behind the net. That's taken away there by an Eagle skater as the Wildcats now try to work it back behind the net. That's where they've been going early and often, as Luke Schramko now has the puck on a stick for the Eagles, and he lays a big hit on one of those Wildcat skaters.
The big man with the big hit.
And now the Eagles moving through neutral zone and looking for a penalty were the Eagles, but none will come, and we will play on here with just over 12 minutes to play. As the Eagles move behind their net, and now they'll work it into the middle. That's number 54 is Connor Gibbons with it on a stick, and he just dumps it into the zone, as now the Eagles forced to retreat back out of the zone as Luke Schramko dumped that in for the Eagles. Wildcats now have it in the defensive zone, trying to move through neutral ice, but that'll be taken away there by the Eagles. Max Victor now trying to take it away there for the Eagles, but the Wildcats now, we will get an icing call here and an Eagles offensive zone face-off. Just over 11:30 left to play here in this first period. Chris, how do you feel it's going thus far for the Eagles?
I think for the offense, they're not really getting much opportunity because the Eagle defense, or the Ignatius defense, is so powerful right now. But both defenses are playing really good, so I'm expecting not as much offense as there normally would be in these types of rivalries.
And there's a pre-face-off whistle. Not quite sure what the call was there, but we will do it again as the Eagles now take possession. And they tried to get over to Max Victor. Victor unable to control it on the stick as the Eagles try to make a hit back behind the net. And Victor tried to get it into the middle, but that was taken away by the stick of an Ignatius defenseman. And now the Wildcats will do this once again, that dump and run into the zone as they now have got it back behind the net. They'll try to work it in the middle, and they'll throw a shot in on net. That goes way wide there, deflected by a stick of the Eagles. Eagles now trying to clear the defensive zone. Just under 11 minutes now remain in the first period. Eagles will work it along the boards. And there's a battle for the puck here along the near side as the Eagles try to come away with it. And now the Wildcats moving through neutral ice. A nice move made there, but unable to control the puck was number 8, Liam Delaney, for the Wildcats. And now they'll set up in the offensive zone, trying to work it into the middle. And Delaney tried to throw a shot in on net, but a nice save made there by Hunter Mayville, the man in net today for the Eagles.
Yeah, really good save by Mayville. And if he's able to make those saves, then we'll be in pretty good hands for this first period as of right now.
And I've had the opportunity to watch a couple green games this year. Mayville, a very high-level goalie on this green stage. He's just made another 2 saves there as the Wildcats are very aggressive in the offensive zone.
Yeah, Mayville, a really good goalie and also a very good baseball player for the baseball team.
As the net came off, and we will have a defensive zone draw here for the Eagles. Skating into the center dot for the Eagles is Blake Cohn. Now the Wildcats trying to pick up possession. They have it. They work back behind the net. Now the Wildcats are going to continue to work back behind the net. Eagles will take that away in their own defensive zone. They'll try to clear the zone here, and that's Bobby Philippou who dumps it into the Eagles' offensive zone, but there will be an icing call here, and we will once again head back down to the Eagles' defensive zone. And Eagles thus far just really not able to get a sustained offense going as we play now under 10 minutes remaining in the period.
Yeah, both defenses really holding up, especially the Eagle defense. As you said, the offense not really getting anything to do, so the defense is really holding up. And a good save there by Hunter.
Shot kind of came right off that face-off, and Mayville forced to cover up there, and we will have face-off in the same spot once again.
Yeah, the Wildcats just trying to get that face-off and hit it right to Hunter, trying to catch him off guard.
And Ignatius been early and often with these shots on net, just going high quantity here early as the Eagles try to move through neutral ice. A big hit laid there by the Wildcats, and now the Eagles have it in the middle.
Ooh, another good hard check.
A big check there by number 57, John Philippou for the Eagles, as now they throw it in on net. Easily turned aside there by Mayville in net for the Eagles. Eagles now working in the defensive zone. They'll try to clear, but the Wildcats doing a good job. Eagles now able to clear the zone, but the Wildcats will quickly work it back into the offensive zone. Eagles now number 62, Hans Morscher had it on a stick. Now he'll try to clear the zone. Wildcats now trying to make a pass into the middle, deflected on a stick there by the Eagles. Now the Wildcats have it along the far side boards. Eagles trying desperately to clear the zone.
Yeah.
Are not quite able to do so yet. And this Eagles defense been very good early, as you mentioned, Chris, but you want to see them start turning defense into offense as they're doing here as the Eagles storm through neutral ice. They've only got one guy out there. That was number 48, Nasi Koutsanis for the Eagles.
Athanasi. Yeah, the Eagles were caught in a line change, so it was a 1-on-5 for Athanasi.
As the Eagles now try to gain possession here in neutral ice. They'll get it over to number 51.
I believe that is the Eagles' first shot on goal this game.
And they'll try to throw another shot in on net, but that goes just wide. And you mentioned that first Eagles shot on net in this game, and not a good sign here. Already 7 minutes played, but that is the first shot on net as we have just under 8 minutes remaining here in this first period of action.
Yeah, the Eagles being outshot 5-1 by the Wildcats right now, so not something you want to see if you're an Eagles fan, but if you're a Wildcat fan, that's something you want to see.
And those Wildcat shots have been high in quality, as it's just been a great job done in net today by Hunter Mayville thus far. Eagles now trying to chase down the puck along the near side. Battle for the puck as the Wildcats try to work it into the middle. That's taken away by Blake Cohn. Cohn now, that's taken away from him as the Wildcats now move through neutral ice. And they'll try to throw a shot in on that. That goes high and wide as the Wildcats threaten, but now taken away there by Blake Cohn in the defensive zone for the Eagles. As now the Wildcats forced to retreat. Cohn trying to pick it up in neutral ice, unable to control it on the stick. And the Wildcats now have a shot on net, turned aside there by Hunter Mayville.
Tried to get it through the 5-hole, didn't work, and now another shot just going wide high of the net.
And This Ignatius onslaught continues here 8 minutes into this first period as the Wildcats now forced to retreat back into the offensive zone, now moving into the offensive zone, and we will get an offsides call. That was number 4 of the Wildcats, Anthony Moises, who just jumped the gun there trying to get into the offensive zone to start a run, and we will have a neutral zone faceoff here as the Eagles are able to win it. They'll now move through neutral ice. Eagles have it along the far side. Eagles will dump it back behind the net. A race for the puck as the Wildcats have it now. That's taken away there by the Eagles, trying to work it into the middle, but unable to control the puck there as the Wildcats now have 6.5 minutes left to work here in this first period. Now Eagles making this interesting. Luke Schramko tossed a shot in on net. The save made there in the net was Will Stewart for the Wildcats, who's done a good job throughout. Hasn't had to do much thus far, but they're able to turn that shot aside.
Yeah, he hasn't had much to do, but when he does get the shot on goal, he is able to save it.
And the Wildcats now trying to clear the defensive zone, and Schramko just kind of lost sight of the puck there for the Eagles, and that turned into an Ignatius offensive opportunity, but now the Eagles will regain possession and move now through the neutral zone. They'll dump it in as the Wildcats will race for the puck along the near side. They'll move it now back behind the net. Wildcats now moving far side. They'll move it back into the middle. Eagles, big hit there by Luke Schramko, able to knock the puck away. As the Wildcats will now move through neutral ice. They'll dump it in, and they'll race for this puck. And now the Wildcats throw a shot in on net, turned aside there by Mayville. Puck still up for grabs in front of the net. And Eagles trying to clear the zone, tossed it into his own bench, and we will have a face-off here.
And you could probably, I don't know if you guys could hear, but we could hear for sure the collective kind of scream when the puck came towards them, as those pucks are not soft, so you do not want to get hit by those.
Jacob Weiss apologizing to his teammates as he throws that one into the bench. And now the Eagles will try to clear the defensive zone here. And an even bigger part of him throwing that into the bench is that you now have to be in your defensive zone when you are about to clear the zone. As now the Eagles have the puck here, they'll just throw a shot in on net, easily turned aside there by Stewart in net for the Wildcats. As now Wildcats trying to stick handle along the far side. And the Eagles now getting some offensive opportunities here. Max Victor now, they'll try to work it as they try to throw a shot in on net, but deflected there by the Wildcats. Now Wildcats will move through neutral ice here, and Eagles laying big hits, but now there was a one-on-one with a defender, but the defenseman able to knock that puck away.
Yeah, and Ignatius going to make some changes on their line.
As now the puck will go back behind the net. Wildcats now will have it at the point as they'll dump it here. Looking for a shot in the slot was number 12 for the Wildcats.
And an icing call for going against the Eagles, so it'll be back in the Eagle defensive end.
And that was Xavier Walsh who tried that shot that went just wide. And we will have this defensive zone draw here for the Eagles. Just over 4 minutes remain here in the first period.
Yeah, a very physical game and a very fast-paced game for both teams.
As Blake Cohn will slide into the circle here for the Eagles. Eagles trying to clear the zone. Wildcats doing a good job. As the Wildcats try to work it into the middle. Now, Philippou will have it on the stick. He'll try to work it through neutral ice. Eagles will throw that in on net, but turned aside there by the Wildcats. And the Eagles now have gotten more shots on net, but they've been these very far out shots. Chris, what do you think they have to do to try to get more quality shots in this game?
I think they just need to work it, just kind of work around, try and catch them when they're not prepared for their offensive attack.
As now the Wildcats skate through their own defensive zone. They'll reset, and they'll try to work it through the neutral zone. And now there's a chase for the puck that involves Luke Schramko. Schramko now has it, and he'll clear the defensive zone there for the Eagles. As the Wildcats now move back into the defensive zone, it's just been all offense from them early. As the Eagles find the back of the net, that's number 48,
Athanasi
Kostanis. I can't say his name, but he's a great player and a great shot there by the Eagles.
Yeah, very good shot by Athanasi. And like I said, just catch them when they're not prepared, and that's what he did, and he got it top shelf into the net.
And Kostanis now putting the Eagles up 1-0 here early, as we still have 3 minutes left to play here in this first period of action. As now the Eagles have it in the defensive zone. They'll try to clear the zone. As the Wildcats now have it, trying to move through the neutral zone. Eagles able to take that puck away, and they dump it in. Wildcats now will be forced to retreat back. As the Wildcats now trying to move the puck down ice, they're forced to retreat back into the defensive zone. Now they're moving through neutral ice. That's number 2, Will Robinson, and he throws a shot in on net. A nice save made by the glove of Mayville, who's done a great job thus far for the Eagles.
Yep.
Score still remains 1-0, just over 2 minutes left to play.
Yeah, Mayville making the tough and easy saves in the goal for the Eagles.
As we'll now have a defensive zone face-off here for the Eagles. Eagles unable to win the draw, and now the Wildcats will fire a slap shot in, but deflected on a body there of an Eagle defenseman. As the Eagles now try to clear the zone, and now they've got a 1-on-2 here, and they'll throw it in, easily turned aside there by Will Stewart. As the Wildcats now 1-on-1 with the goaltender, and great save made there by Mayville, who's just done a phenomenal job throughout this game for the Eagles.
Right now, you can't ask any more of Hunter. He's doing a terrific job in net.
As the Wildcats now have it along the far side. Wildcats now trying to work it into the middle. That was a good pass to find the man in the middle, but not quite able to control it. Nice defense thus far by the Eagles. As now the Wildcats will be forced to tag up here as the Eagles cleared the defensive zone. Eagles now will move through neutral ice with the puck. Just over a minute left to play here in the first period.
Yeah, and both teams changing their lines, trying to get some fresh skates out there.
As the Wildcats unable to control it on a stick there in the neutral zone. Big hit there by number 19, Cooper Bastian, for the Wildcats.
And the Eagle bench wants a penalty there, but none will be called.
And now we've got 40 seconds left to play here in the first period. Eagles take that puck away, but forced to clear the offensive zone. As the Wildcats now move it through their defensive zone, moving now into neutral ice. Eagles will be forced to move back into their defensive zone as Hunter Mayville covers up that puck, and we will have an Eagles defensive zone draw here with 25 seconds remaining in the first period.
Yeah, our defense really holding up well, and our offense starting to get it going now.
And we'll see if that Eagles offense will be able to continue that string of momentum, as we're now late here in this first period, and they try to work it far side where the Wildcats. It was a nice opportunity there, but unable to find it. And now Hunter Mayville making a phenomenal stop there for the Eagles. And
yeah.
Chris, I see you clapping for that stop.
Yes.
That was high level.
Especially because before that play happened, Hunter slipped and he fell, so he was trying to regain his balance, and he was able to do that and still make the save.
And now that will conclude our first period. Eagles 1, Wildcat 0. We'll see you after the break. And now we welcome you back here from Serpentini Winterhurst Arena here in Lakewood. Eagles lead by a score of 1-0 as we get ready for this second period of action between your Eagles of St. Edward and the Wildcats of St. Ignatius. This the varsity green squad for the Eagles, up 1-0 early as the Wildcats win the opening draw of the second period. Eagles now trying to take it away. Eagles now will battle for the puck in their defensive zone. Wildcats now have it, firing a shot in on net, and they find the back of the net here early in the second period, just 14 seconds in. That's number 13 of the Wildcats.
And Hunter Mayville, he wanted interference as one of the Wildcats slipped in front of him and kind of may have blocked his ability to go and block that. He was kind of complaining to the ref, hey, where was the interference? But no interference.
Regardless, Wildcats now will tie it 1-1 here. That was Charlie Maroon there for the Wildcats. As now they have another opportunity. Hunter Mayville forced to make that stop with the glove as we will have an Eagles defensive zone draw, and the Wildcats early in this period very aggressive.
Yeah, very aggressive. They wanted to come out aggressive in the first, but our defense just couldn't hold up. Our defense was able to hold up, and now they're coming out, and our defense can't hold up as much. But we're still 20 seconds into the period.
And now the Wildcats making a nice cross-ice pass, and once again they find the net. That's number 14 for the Wildcats, Charlie Fippich, as he's able to find a goal there for the Wildcats. And now Wildcats go up 2-1, 2 goals in the first 25 seconds of the period. That was a great cross-ice pass there from the Wildcats, able to find the net there as they go up 2-1.
Yeah, and these Eagles just need to reset, focus back in on the game. Don't worry about those goals. You'll be able to get the goals back.
And starting to feel reminiscent of that varsity game that we saw right before the new year, as the Eagles went up early 1-0, but then the Wildcats stormed back and ended up winning that game 4-1, as now Mayville makes that stop on the glove for the Eagles. 14 minutes, 15 seconds remain here in the second period, as we'll have an offensive zone draw here for the Wildcats. And the Wildcats have found success off this face-off here early in the second period.
Now whistle being blown.
And we'll wait to see what the call is, and it will be a cross-checking call there on Blake Cohn of the Eagles.
Oh, no. Athanasi, he's going to the penalty box right now.
And the Eagles now will be short-handed here, as now the Eagles will have just 4 players out there on the ice. Eagles down 2-1, and the Wildcats a golden opportunity to extend that lead even further as the Eagles clear the defensive zone there and chase the puck down the ice. As the Wildcats now work at far side, they'll bide their time here, not going to force anything, but they will be aggressive once they get into that offensive zone as they try to work through neutral ice. As now the Eagles have possession once again in the Wildcats' forced retreat back into the defensive zone. 1:30 remains on this power play here for the Wildcats. 13.5 minutes remain in this second period, as the Wildcats now finally get it into the offensive zone. Wildcats now have it. They'll throw a shot in on net. They look for the deflection in front, but
just wide of the net and just wide of his teammate.
As the Wildcats now have it back behind the net, they'll work it up to the point. Wildcats now trying to work it cross ice, but
that was deflected off the stick of Luke Schramko.
And Schramko doing a great job defensively thus far for the Eagles. That shot goes wide of the net. Eagles unable to clear the zone quite yet. Wildcats doing a great job with this offensive onslaught here on this power play. 45 seconds remain on this power play for the Wildcats. 12 minutes, 45 seconds remain in the period.
Yeah, and Luke Schramko really getting physical down there by the goal and just in general, as he wants to make sure that this Eagle, as these Wildcats go 0-1 on the power play.
And that shot wide of the net for the Wildcats. They're forced to tag up here with 20 seconds remaining on this penalty kill for the Eagles. Wildcats now going to try to work it into the middle. 10 seconds remain here on the power play for them. Eagles able to clear the zone, and they'll go chase after that puck, and that will mean time will run out on this power play for the Wildcats, as both teams are at even strength now with 12 minutes remaining here in the period. But now the Wildcats trying to pass it into the middle. That was deflected on a stick from an Eagle, as the Wildcats now looking in front. St. Ignatius doing a great job offensively thus far.
Yeah, they're also getting a lot of traffic in front of the goal, as we see now, but it has not worked thus far. Or it has worked, it just hasn't worked in a little bit.
And that's been what they wanted to do here in this second period. Throughout the first period, they kind of had those cleaner shots on net, unable to find the net. Hunter Mayville doing a great job, but now just throwing bodies right in front of the net, and it's worked out thus far in the second period. Wildcats 2, Eagles 1. 11:15 left to play in the second period. The Eagles now will dump it into the zone. Wildcats forced to retrieve the puck back behind the net. Eagles now trying to throw a shot in on that. That'll go wide of the net. A shot from Luke Schramko.
Oh.
As Schramko takes that puck to the upper shoulder. As now the Eagles will
They're going to make a line change.
make a line change. And now, that was almost a bad opportunity there for the Eagles, as the Wildcats had a man in neutral ice. That was number 5, Melee long check, but the Eagles were able to get lucky there, and he was unable to control the puck on the stick, and now that will be an icing call, and we'll have an Eagles offensive zone face-off.
And a lot of action right by the ref as he's trying not to get tripped up by all the sticks.
And the Eagles will try to fire a shot in on net. Easy save made by Stewart and net for the Wildcats, as Eagles still remain down 1-2 here. 10.5 minutes left in this second period.
Yeah, the Eagles, they're trying, right now they're going for the long shots. They need to get right into the goal, right into the face of the Ignatius goalie, and then take those shots.
And you've seen thus far for the Wildcats in the second period, it's really been that traffic in front of the net that has done them well. We'll see if the Eagles are able to get something similar going here in this second period. Wildcats now have it back behind the net in their defensive zone. They'll try to clear it out to the far side, as now it's one-on-one with the goaltender for the Wildcats. Hunter Mayville unable to make the stop, and there's the goal there for the Wildcats. Number 2, Will Robinson for St. Ignatius will put them up 3-1, 5 minutes into this second period. And Mayville put in a difficult situation there, having to go one-on-one with Robinson, and Robinson doing a great job, able to find the back of the net, as the Eagles now down 3-1.
Yeah, he put that right in the 5-hole, and Hunter just didn't drop his pads soon enough, and it was, by the time he dropped it, it was already in the back of the net.
And now the Wildcats once again looking for opportunities here in the offensive zone. And a big hit laid there by 2 Eagles, really Luke Schramko for the Eagles, able to make a big hit that saves a goal.
Yeah, three sticks getting tangled up, and that just caused them all to go down to the ice.
Now we have just under 10 minutes left here in this period, as the Wildcats now will fire a shot in on net, turned aside there by Mayville. Wildcats just relentless here with this offensive pressure as they continue to throw shots in on net. That one goes just high of the net. Wildcats working once again into the middle. They have been dominant thus far throughout this second period. And even in that first period, you just felt like it was a matter of time until they were able to find their groove and start getting goals, and that's what it's been here in this second period. As now the Wildcats work through neutral ice, and now they'll be once again one-on-one with Mayville, and that shot goes just high as Luke Schramko chased over to the puck and was able to make that shot go high and wide of the net. As the Wildcats, there was a man who is down in front of the net, but the Eagles able to take it away. And we will get an icing call here as we'll have a Eagles defensive zone face-off here. Just over 9 minutes remaining in this, just under 9 minutes remaining in the second period.
Yeah, we've been calling Luke Schramko's name a lot. Not really just him scoring, it's just his ability to get in front of the net and really be very physical on the ice.
And he's been a big part of this Eagles defense throughout this game thus far, as Blake Cone will glide into the circle and is able to win that defensive zone draw. Cone now able to take it away on the stick, but now the Wildcats play it in the middle, and that slap shot goes just wide of the net. As the Wildcats now have it, trying to work it into the middle. Eagles able to take that puck away, and they'll just try to clear the defensive zone. And I feel like I've been saying that a lot throughout this second period for the Eagles. Just a lot of attempts to clear the defensive zone as the Wildcats remain strong. And now a 2-on-1 here for the Eagles. That shot
Just
from
wide.
Kotsanis goes just wide of the net. As now the Wildcats trying to play it back behind the net. Cone will now have possession here along the near side for the Eagles. Not quite able to control it on the stick, as now the Wildcats will try to clear their own defensive zone here. And now the Eagles work it through neutral ice. Philippou now will try to make a move, but taken away there by the Wildcats. And now the Eagles have it in neutral ice. 7:40 remains here in the second period. And that shot goes high and wide of the net there. Eagles forced to retreat back into the defensive zone. And it's been high action, high pace, very aggressive game from both teams, and it's been a fun one to watch here from Serpentini Arena here at Winterhurst on this Sunday morning. As the Wildcats now trying to clear the defensive zone, but hit a Wildcat defenseman, and the Eagles were able to keep it in the offensive zone momentarily. And now the Eagles will try to win this puck in the neutral zone. This puck up for grabs. The Wildcats now control it. A big hit there by the Eagles as there's a battle along the near side for the puck. We'll see who comes out of the scrum with the puck, and it is the Eagles, but they will be forced.
The Wildcats came out of
Wildcats, rather, and they'll be forced to retreat out of the offensive zone, as the Eagles now have it here, trying to move through neutral ice. The Eagles now have it in neutral ice. They'll try to dump it into the offensive zone, and the Wildcats just continuing to be dominant throughout this second period. As the Wildcats now move it through neutral ice. That's easily turned aside there by Mayville. Now the Wildcats will have it back behind the net. Eagles trying to gain possession. Wildcats have it now, and they'll try to work it in the middle, but no one was there, and Wildcats forced to tag up here as they have to clear their own offensive zone. Schramko now has it on his stick, as now the Wildcats will have it here in their own defensive zone. They'll work through neutral ice now. 5.5 minutes remained here in the second period. Wildcats now working back behind the net. They'll try to work it into the middle, and there's a good shot on net. Turned aside there by Hunter Mayville. Mayville forced to cover up on that one, who's done a pretty good job thus far for the Eagles, but forced to stop a lot of shots here from the Wildcats.
He's been forced to work really hard in net. Even though he's given up 3 goals, he's been phenomenal. That's all I got to say. He's just been phenomenal.
And a lot of those saves thus far for Mayville have been on very tough shots, as the Wildcats trying to get it in there, and Mayville making another one of those great stops there in net, as the Wildcats just had a whole slew of bodies right there in front of the net. But Mayville able to make the stop for the Eagles, and we'll once again have the Eagles' defensive zone draw here. 5.5 minutes remain in the second period. Mayville able to turn that one aside. Eagles now trying to control it. That's Max Victor. he'll get it over to Philippou. And now the Eagles have it here in the offensive zone. And Eagles trying to battle for this puck along the near side. Eagles able to control it for the moment, but the Eagles keep it in the offensive zone here. Wildcats will try to clear the defensive zone as they work through neutral ice. Wildcats now have it on a stick, and they'll control it here and try to work it in the middle, and that's where they've gotten these goals thus far have been right in the middle, throwing bodies at the net, as Hunter Mayville has had a tough time stopping those shots when there's just all sorts of bodies right in front of him. As now the Eagles will have to go grab that puck along the near side. Max Victor trying to work it into the middle. Wildcats now will have possession and be forced to work into their defensive zone. Wildcats now work it over the far side, and they'll fire a shot in on net. And Mayville doing a great job when it's been those long shots from the Wildcats, just doing what he has to, able to stop those shots thus far. Stop that one on the glove, and we will have an offensive zone draw here for the Wildcats. Just over 4 minutes left to play here in the second period.
Yeah, and the Eagles going with a fresh line here with 4:09 to go. And Ignatius still keeping their line out, so the coach for Ignatius must have a lot of trust in his guys.
As now the Wildcats will be forced to go back into the defensive zone. That was a nice play there by Philippou for the Eagles, trying to chase down that puck.
Shot saved, pad save.
And now the Eagles trying to control that puck, and the Wildcats now will have it. Eagles trying to get some offense going, but just not doing much thus far here in the second period. 3.5 minutes left to play. As the Wildcats now have it up at the point, they'll dump it in. Eagles now trying to clear the defensive zone, and it's been a difficult effort throughout this period to clear the zone for the Eagles.
It's been also pretty difficult for St. Ignatius to get many shots on goal. They're getting them, they're just not getting them as often as they did in the first period.
And the Wildcats early in this period were really doing a great job of putting that quantity on net, just throwing shots on Mayville. But thus, later in this period, the Eagles have been stifling them defensively, as the Eagles now will try to clear the zone, battle for the puck, and now the Eagles will chase for it as the Wildcats control it here in the defensive zone. 2 minutes, 45 seconds remain here in the second period as the Eagles now have it working through the neutral zone. Wild Eagles now trying to control it, but that's taken there by the Wildcats. Eagles will work back into the defensive zone, trying to clear, and we'll get an offsides call, I believe, here on the Wildcats. Unsure of the call there, but we will have a Eagles defensive zone draw here with just under 2.5 minutes remaining here in the second period, as the Wildcats now have possession. Try to throw it in on net, but turned aside there by Mayville, and net for the Eagles. Eagles now forced to grab that puck back behind the net. Battle for the puck behind the net as the Eagles will try to control the puck along the near side. Battle for the puck won by the Eagles there, but now the Wildcats have it in the middle, and they'll work it far side. Trying to get it a deflection into the middle there was the Wildcats, and now the Eagles will have it in the defensive zone, trying to clear, and a nice save made there by Hunter Mayville for the Eagles.
Yeah, a good chest save. Really, that one just went right into his chest pad, and he's able to deflect that. But now the Ignatius Wildcats once again on the offensive attack.
They've got this 3-on-2 advantage here, are the Wildcats, but that goes into Hunter Mayville's grasp, and we will have an Eagles defensive zone draw here with a minute and a half remaining in the second period. Wildcats up 3-1 here. Minute 25 remains here in the second period as the Eagles work through neutral zone. And they'll throw a shot in on it. net turned aside there by Will Stewart in net for the Wildcats. Just about a minute and 20 seconds remain here in the second period, as the Eagles will now have a offensive zone draw. We'll see if they're able to get anything done here late in the period, as Stewart will once again be forced to cover up that puck, and we'll have another Eagles offensive zone draw.
Yeah, both offenses kind of going quiet now as we get into the later stages of this period.
And with that, it's really been difficult late in this period for both offensives, especially the Eagles offenses. They really haven't been able to even throw any shots on net late in the second period. We'll see if they can get something going here with just a minute remaining in this period. Wildcats now have it in neutral ice. They'll now work it into the offensive zone. Wildcats working it into the middle. And that shot turned aside there by Mayville. We'll have a Wildcats offensive zone draw here. Just 50 seconds remain here in the second period. Wildcats 3, Eagles 1. And Blake Cohn will glide into the circle now for the Eagles. Rather, it will be Philippou, who can't win the draw, but Mayville forced to cover up once again there for the Eagles. 49 seconds remain here in the second period, as the Wildcats in the offensive zone potentially trying to find one final goal before the end of this second period. Mayville once again forced to cover up there. 45 seconds now remain in the second period. And now the Wildcats have possession, but Eagles, they clear the zone, but we will get an icing call here. 40 seconds remain in the second period. Eagles doesn't quite look like they're going to be able to get anything going offensively late in this period, but they have been able to clear the defensive zone thus far late in this period, as Cone wins the faceoff there for the Eagles. They'll have possession of the puck back behind the net. Eagles look to break out, and Philippou now controls it in neutral ice, trying to dump it into the zone. He's able to do so, as now the Wildcats will be forced to retrieve that puck back behind the net. Eagles now trying to gain possession of this puck. There's a battle for the puck here. We'll see who comes out with it. And just 8 seconds remain here in the period, as Philippou now will maybe try to put one final shot in on that. Wildcats have control, and that's how we'll end this second period of action. Wildcats 3, Eagles 1. I'm Cody Wagner here alongside Chris Mendoza. Glad to bring you this hockey action here on a Sunday morning. We'll join you after the break. Hello and welcome back to Lakewood here at Serpentini Arena at Winterhurst. Eagles up, or rather down 1-3 as we get ready for this third period. And I'm going to hand it off to Chris.
Yeah, fans, later today at 4:15, we're going to have St. Ed's basketball once again. Game 3 of a 3-day road trip for the Eagles. They will be taking on Garfield Heights at Brush High School in the Chet Mason Invitational. Again, 4:15 tip-off time. We'll probably start the broadcast around 4 o'clock, I want to say. Not too sure. Adam Mendoza and either Pete Kaler or Tom Lombardo will be on the call. We do not have that confirmed yet. So it's going to be a surprise for all of us. Finds out who's going to be on the call with Adam Mendoza. Eagles 12-0, the number 1 team in the AP polls in the state. Garfield Heights 11-1. I believe they might be in the top 5. I haven't checked the latest AP polls. I believe they're in the top 5, so it's going to be either a top 5 or a top 10 matchup in the state for basketball.
And that Eagles squad has been very impressive thus far throughout this season. It's been very fun to watch them. That Lutheran East game about a week ago, just throughout this season, they've been so much fun to watch, especially that Ignatius game earlier this season where there's so much excitement and hype built into that game, and they were just able to go out there and get the job done.
Yeah, and especially with the Eagles basketball team, they don't have that one guy that stands out like most teams do. As last night against Cleveland Central Catholic, we only had one guy go into double digits, and that was Wendell Henry. I believe he had either 11 or 12 points. So we don't have that one guy like most teams do. So these Eagles are able to get more looks and get more shots, and that's been able to be their, just be able to help them, and they're 12-0 right now because of that.
And that team you mentioned, that team atmosphere, just not a selfish, no selfish guys on that court for the Eagles squad, and I'll be excited to watch that match from home, that game from home later today against Garfield, as we welcome you back here for the third period of action. Puck already gone up into the netting. Here in the third period, Eagles down 1-3. We'll see if they're able to recover from this deficit in the third period. And it was a dominant second period in this game for the Wildcats, who were able to surge out ahead and go up 3-1. And all 3 of those goals for the Wildcats came in that second period. We'll see if the Eagles are able to have a similarly strong third period. As now the Wildcats, that goes just wide of the net. A very good shot there by the Wildcats, as the Eagles now forced to retreat and get the puck back behind the net, as the Eagles now try to move it through neutral zone. And they'll try to throw a shot in on net. Turned aside by a skate there of the Wildcats. Wildcats now will have the puck back behind the net. Just under a minute played through this third period. As Philippou now has it, he'll dump it into the zone.
And the Eagles going with a fresh line here with 13:53 to go. And Ignatius doing the same, getting some fresh skates out there.
As the Eagles had to tag up there waiting for that offsides to clear, as now the Wildcats will play the puck from behind their own net. Now they'll work it near side, working through neutral ice, or the Wildcats are 1-on-2 with the defender. Wildcats now will be forced to work back behind the net of the Eagles. And unable to control possession there were the Wildcats, and now the Eagles will clear the zone, but we will get an icing call here and face off here in the Eagles defensive zone. And the varsity match between these two teams ended in a 4-1 final, the Wildcats taking that game. And today it's been all Wildcats here through this third period, as the Wildcats remain up by a score of 3-1. 13 minutes, 15 seconds remain here in the third period, as Hunter Mayville's able to cover that one up. And you see the 3 goals up on the board, kind of misleading for how well Hunter Mayville has played throughout this game.
Very well. He has made the stops when he needs to be. The only goals he's given up are on the trick/fancy plays that the Wildcats have been throwing at him.
And you mentioned those sort of trickery from the Wildcats, who have just thrown bodies in front of the net, and that's been how they're able to get these goals. As the Eagles now will try to clear the defensive zone. Wildcats keeping it in for the moment. And they'll now try to work it into the middle. Turned aside there by Mayville. Mayville now able to get it out was the Eagles defenseman.
There's going to be a penalty, it looks like. Everyone's just kind of stopped and everyone kind of looks confused on what's going on.
And
looks like
the net came off, it seems like, as
not too sure.
no one's. And the Eagles will have a man head to the box here.
Connor Gibbons going to the box.
Gibbons now will forced to think about that for 2 minutes as the Eagles will try to kill this power play. 12 minutes, 40 seconds remain here in the third period. And the Wildcats will have 2 minutes with which to work here on the power play. Up a man, 5-4. As the Eagles now clear the defensive zone, but the Wildcats will still have possession here as they work from their own defensive zone. Wildcats now have it back behind the net. They'll work it over to the near side. Now working through neutral ice are the Wildcats. Wildcats trying to mount an offensive attack here in this third period. And if they were able to get another goal, that would put this game proverbially on ice here in this third period. As the Wildcats now have the puck back behind the net. The Eagles trying to continue with the aggressive defensive attack. As the Wildcats played it right in front. Hunter Mayville doing a phenomenal job in net for the Eagles. A minute remains here on the power play for the Wildcats. As they now work it out to the point. Wildcats now have it on a stick. They'll work it over the near side. And the Eagles tried to lay a big hit there in the middle. Wildcats now have it once again at the point, trying to work it along the boards. But the Eagles tried to clear the defensive zone, but it was blocked by one of their own men. But finally, Eagles able to clear the defensive zone. That was number 51 for the Eagles.
And the Wildcats going with a brand new line here as they get it in their defensive zone through the neutral zone.
We've got just 11 minutes left to play here in this game between your Eagles of St. Edward and the Wildcats of St. Ignatius. 10 seconds left on this power play for the Wildcats. We'll see if they can capitalize.
Oh, someone's stick goes flying.
And one of the Wildcats' sticks was knocked out of their hand by an Eagles defenseman. And we will have now a defensive zone draw here for the Eagles as the Wildcats 0 for 2 on their power plays throughout this day, but have gotten it done otherwise on the offensive attack here as we've got just over 10.5 minutes left to play in the third period.
Yeah, and that Wildcat stick almost touching the ceiling here at Winterhurst, and I thought it was going to hit one of the Eds players.
And now the Eagles trying to pick up possession. Eagles now have it. They'll try to clear the zone here. Eagles now trying to work it in the middle. Wildcats able to keep it in their offensive zone for the moment as they work back behind the net. Wildcats now will throw a slap shot in on net. Turned aside there by Hunter Mayville of the Eagles. Eagles now, they'll break it out. Here it'll be one-on-one with the goaltender, and that goes just wide of the net. The Eagles having a good opportunity there. Those number 60, Hayden Helfer for the Eagles, who was just not quite able to capitalize for the Eagles. 5 minutes played in this third period as we will not get the icing call here, waved off by the referee as Helfer now has it on his stick, trying to work through neutral ice. Eagles unable to control the puck, and
offsides, I believe.
We will get the
no, there's a penalty
call here on the Wildcats.
Looks like it'll be a high sticking on the Wildcats. Number 22 going to the box.
That'll be Riley Cowell for the Wildcats, who will spend 2 minutes in the box now. 9 minutes, 45 seconds remain here in the third period. Eagles will have 2 minutes on the man advantage.
Yeah, the Eagles, this is their first power play of the game as opposed to St. Ignatius's 2, and they're just going to clear that.
And Ignatius immediately clears it, and they've got a man chasing down that puck, but Eagles able to maintain in possession. They'll try to work it through neutral ice. Unable to control it on the stick there was the Eagles, as they're forced to retreat back into the defensive zone. Eagles now work through neutral ice. They've just not been able to get anything going since that first period offensively, as the Eagles now try to throw a shot in on net, but
Oh, there's a
and little scrum right there in front of the net between an Eagle and a Wildcat, but that'll be sorted out.
and players not too happy as Luke Schramko was in the middle of that pile with the Ignatius goalie and another Ignatius player.
Just over 9 minutes left here in this game. Eagles down 1-3. We'll see if they're able to pick up a goal here on this power play, and that's an offsides call you just can't take there in that situation. Trying to move the puck back up to the point, and that was number 48 for the Eagles.
Athanasi Kastanis once again.
And he just kind of drifted too far back and let the puck go out of the zone. And Katsanis will try to recover this puck here for the Eagles as they work it through their defensive zone. That puck taken away there by the Wildcats, who will now dump it into the Eagles' defensive zone. Eagles now will have a minute and 10 seconds left to work here on this power play. Eagles now working through neutral ice. They have it along the far side. Victor trying to pass into the middle. Philippou unable to control that on the stick there for the Eagles. Wildcats now just trying to waste as much time as they can. Now just 45 seconds remain here on this power play for the Eagles. 8.5 minutes left in this game. And Philippou now has it in neutral ice here for the Eagles. He'll get off to Victor. Victor back over to Philippou. Philippou now has it in the far corner as now Victor gets it back over to Philippou, who tried a shot but that went back behind the net. Now the Eagles remain in possession.
Now
And
Luke Schramko down on the ice right now. Looks like it was a hit.
And I didn't quite get to see what originally caused that, but Schramko was down on the ice and the Ignatius player just having a stick underneath him, and there will be a penalty given to both men as Schramko, very mad heading off the ice, slams his helmet against the glass, and he'll spend 2 minutes in the box. And the Ignatius coach calling his team over. And both men will spend time in the box, but it'll still be a 5-on-4 here.
Now the St. Ed's coach wanting an explanation on what is going on.
I think he feels as though his player was kind of beaten up there by the net and really didn't retaliate much and is potentially looking to get Schramko out of the box, but
Now the St. Ed's coach giving his piece, or giving his side of the story.
and Coach Humphreys trying to get the story here from the ref, who seemingly won't tell him what happened down there by the net, and trying to figure out this situation.
Yeah, not too sure if you guys can hear it, but we are able to hear it, and there's going to be a timeout or a technical. I'm not sure how those work in hockey.
And it'll be a timeout here taken by the Eagles as Coach Humphreys continues to bark out at the referee.
And both coaches don't look too happy with the referees, as even the St. Ignatius coach, he's kind of jawing at the ref. Not too sure if it's on the same story as the St. Ed's coach, but both coaches kind of jawing at him.
Okay, so 2 men, another player heading to the box here for the Eagles due to the penalty called on, I believe, Coach Humphreys there. The Eagles will now have a player in the box here for 2 minutes, and so we'll be at 4-on-4 here for the next 15 seconds. Then we'll go to a man advantage for the Wildcats. Just trying to sort out this situation.
Yeah, just kind of a big mess.
As Mayville forced to cover up there for the Eagles. And certainly no love lost between these two programs. The one of the biggest rivalries here in Northeast Ohio, as you always look forward to these games between your Eagles of St. Edward and the St. Ignatius Wildcats, as we'll have now a draw here in the Eagles defensive zone. And with that, the Wildcats will now go on the power play here. 7.5 minutes remain here in this third and final period, and they are getting after it here along the far side boards. Eagles able to come up with the puck, not quite able to clear the zone. And now the Eagles will have it, once again trying to clear the zone, but the Wildcats will have possession here, working back behind the net. Now they work in front.
Oh,
and they find the net. That was a sneaky goal there by the Wildcats, just working from right to left in front of the net. That was number 8, Liam Delaney. What a shot by him.
yeah, he got that just around the skate of Hunter Mayville. That was, if he missed that, if he was just a bit late, that would have been a save for Hunter.
What a great shot and play there by Liam Delaney, as now that will get rid of that penalty for the Eagles, and we will once again return to even strength. This Wildcats team up 4-1. Here, 7 minutes remain in the third period. And that 4-1 score, the same as how that varsity game ended just a few days before the new year, as now the Wildcats here have possession. That's knocked away there by a body of the Eagles. Eagles trying to gain that possession in their defensive zone. Wildcats now will have it back behind the net. Here just 6 minutes, 45 seconds remain in the third period. As now the Eagles will now have it back in their own defensive zone, trying to clear, as the Wildcats have continued to be relentless throughout this game, as they have it here now in neutral ice, trying to work in the middle. Wildcats now throw a shot in on net. Hunter Mayville continuing to do a great job here in net for the Eagles. Despite those 4 goals, it doesn't really tell the story for how Hunter Mayville has played today.
Yeah, he's been outstanding. And like I said earlier, it's just the fancy plays that they've been able to get the goals on. And he's been able to stop the ones that are right to him. It's just the fancy ones he's having some trouble with.
And that goal that put Ignatius up 4-1, very high-level stick handling and finish from the Wildcats earlier. And now the Wildcats will have it up here at the point, and knocked away on a stick of their own player, as Wildcats just throwing bodies right in front of the net. And there will be a delayed penalty here on the Eagles, as there's a shout from the Wildcats bench.
And this whole place just went silent.
And seemingly wanting their player to stop fighting based on the instructions from the Wildcat bench, as now Blake Cohn will serve 2 minutes in the box here. 5 minutes, 53 seconds remain in this game. It has begun to get chippy late.
That's kind of how all these Eds Ignatius hockey games are. They're very chippy, but it's also, part of the sport. Hockey is a very chippy game.
And this is a high-level match between two very solid programs, as the Eagles able to clear the zone now. And, yeah, you speak about the physicalness of this game and just two high-level teams going at it. Of course, they're going to get a little tempers flaring on both sides, but what a game this has been thus far on both sides, especially defensively for the Eagles. Hunter Mayville and net has looked very good throughout this game, as the Eagles now will get the icing call and have a draw here in their offensive zone.
Yeah, don't let the 4 goals he's given up fool you. He has been very good in the net, even when he's gone down and has struggled to get back up. His team went there and helped him to make sure that they didn't give up another goal.
And now here the Eagles will have the offensive zone draw here. 5.5 minutes remain. 1:30 left on this penalty kill for the Eagles. Now the Wildcats move through neutral ice here. They have it along the near side. They'll dump it back behind the net. Wildcats now will have possession. Working back behind the net. Wildcats going to try to spend as much time as they can here in this offensive zone and get a quality shot. as they work back behind the net, trying to throw it in. Nice save made there by Hunter Mayville. He's going to have to continue to stay focused as the Wildcats still have it in the offensive zone. And pass across. Mayville forced to stop that as the Eagles now will have it behind the net, trying to clear the zone, able to do so, and the Wildcats will be forced to retreat back into the offensive zone to gather that puck. 4.5 minutes remain here in the third period. 40 seconds left on the power play for the Wildcats. And the Wildcats now have it here in the offensive zone. They'll work back behind the net as the Eagles try to take possession here. And they're able to do so, and now they'll have 2-on-1 with a defender. That's Max Victor, but nice job defensively there by the Wildcats, able to make a play on Victor as they have the puck back behind the net. And shot goes just high of the net there by the Wildcats. Nice stick handling in front, but shot going just high. And
the Eagles will go back to full strength here with 3:50 to go. Luke Schramko still in the box. I believe he might be serving a 5-minute major. Not too sure how the penalties work, how most penalties work.
And you are correct, due to that, what was essentially a fighting call. Both Schramko and the Ignatius player will serve 5 minutes in the box, and so Schramko will be out for a minute more, I believe, because that penalty came right around 7 minutes. As now the Eagles play the puck back behind the net. 3 minutes, 15 seconds remain here in this game. And Chris, we've mentioned those varsity teams. I think there's a high likelihood that the Eagles and the Wildcats will meet at the varsity level in the playoffs, as the Eagles so far throughout the season have looked very good, and so have the Wildcats. The Wildcats the other day getting a win over Gilmore 3-2, just as the Eagles did earlier this season.
Yeah, and Gilmore, I believe they are the defending state champions, so the fact that both teams are able to get wins over them is really huge.
And I expect that when and if those teams meet in the playoffs, it'll be a much more close and interesting game, as I'm sure that the Eagles want to get that one back in the worst way possible.
Good glove save by Hunter Mayville, as that one went right glove side to him, and he was able just to catch that, and we'll get a face-off.
Mayville doing a heck of a job here in net for the Eagles. 2 minutes, 20 seconds remain here in this final period of action between your Eagles of St. Edward and the Wildcats of St. Ignatius. Glad to join you here on this Sunday morning alongside Chris Mendoza. I'm Cody Wagner. Glad to bring you this action here from Serpentini Arena at Winterhurst. And now one of the Ignatius skaters has lost his stick and will come off the ice, and his stick will remain over on the far side of the rink.
Yeah, it's near the board, so it's not posing a safety hazard to the players.
And nice job done there defensively by the Eagles, able to knock that puck up into the air. Minute 50 remains here in the third period. That shot will go wide of the net there, as the Wildcats will move back into their own defensive zone. A minute 40 remains here in the third period, and this contest, well, not really a contest at this point. The Wildcats up 4-1 here from Serpentini Arena.
Yeah, and the Eagles still looking to chip away just to try and get that deficit down to at least 2.
And even if you're likely not to come back in this game, but you will take that momentum for games after this one, and so you still want to try to maybe gain a goal back here late in this game. A minute 15 seconds on the clock here in this game.
And now they're picking up the loose stick, and he tried tossing that. Not a good toss, but it's also kind of hard to toss a stick.
And Wildcats once again throwing a shot in our net. Turned aside there on the glove of Mayville. And this one kind of all but over, as we'll just kind of wait for the clock to strike triple zeros. A minute left here in this game. Wildcats up 4-1.
And the puck will go out of play, so it'll be a left side on the left side of Hunter Mayville will be the faceoff.
As the Wildcats able to win that faceoff, and Mayville able to make the save, kind of pushed it up and then hit off the crossbar, and then Mayville able to jump on the puck. And
That's great reaction time there by Hunter, as that is very hard to save without it letting it go in, but he was able to do it.
And we've kind of talked about the struggles late in these games for
Ooh.
both the Eagles varsity team and varsity gold team and this green team.
And there's going to be a delayed penalty, it looks like, on St. Ignatius number 16, as he was holding down one of the Eagle players, as he was just basically sitting on his leg, and the ref was like, hey, and he was like, hey, ref, do you see this?
It'll actually be number 56 for the Eagles who will go to the box, I believe, here.
What?
As that delayed penalty was on the Eagles, and they'll send a man to the box here.
Okay, I was wrong.
And number 51 for the Eagles will head to the box. And the Eagles will try to win this offensive zone draw, as he'll be serving that 5-minute major here.
So yeah, he's going to be sitting out the rest of the game, as we are under 45 seconds left here in the game.
And 45 seconds left to play here for the Eagles, who have struggled throughout this game, and kind of mentioned that this Eagles varsity green squad and that varsity gold squad have kind of struggled late in games throughout this season. The varsity gold team up 1-0 heading into the second period, end up losing that Ignatius game 4-1. And a similar situation in that Gilmore game, up 2-0 heading into the third period. Gilmore came back. Eventually the Eagles able to win that game in overtime. But these late game struggles have been discouraging for the Eagles, as we kind of have a repeat of that varsity gold game in this one here today.
Yeah.
Eagles up 1-0 heading into the second period. Then the Wildcats just kind of go out ahead, up 3-1 headed into the third, then add another goal here in the third period. And we got just 5 seconds remaining up on the clock.
And they're just going to hold the puck out at this point.
And that'll be it for this one. And we will end with the same exact score as we did in that varsity gold game. Wildcats 4, Eagles 1. It was great to have you join us from Serpentini Arena here at Winterhurst. I'm Cody Wagner. I've been alongside Chris Mendoza. Glad to bring you this game from your Eagles Sports Network.